our guest from London, UK, Opeoluwa Dapo-Thomas, a financial analyst. Thank you so much, Ope, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now, Ope, the United States rate of inflation over the past year has climbed 6.8% from 6.3% in the previous month. And this is the highest rate since January 1982. So what would you say led to this situation?
Well, there are a lot of factors that we have to consider that's responsible for inflation. I mean, you've already said a background of inflation was about 2%, but so many things have happened. We've had a global pandemic, we've had a war crisis among two strong nations that deliver in terms of grains, food, and energy. So there are 5 factors that we have to look at as responsible for inflation. The first one are fuel prices. So gasoline prices have gone through the roof and they're skyrocketing because Russia, obviously, which is the antagonist in this war, is one of the largest producers of oil. So if you're throwing sanctions at them, you're basically limiting how much oil they can sell. And obviously that's put upside pressure on prices. Another thing you have to look at is rising food prices. Ukraine and Russia supply a large percentage of wheat and grains to the world. And so when you're having this type of crisis, they are not able to ship food products outside. I mean, there was a deal last week where Russia is going to allow Ukraine ship out or export food, but that basically has not come into fruition. Another third thing we have to look at is the surge in car prices now. Because there's a shortage of microchip supply, then we've not been able to have a lot of production in cars, and obviously that's put an upward pressure on prices as well. That's why used people are going to use cars, and obviously that's about 25% in terms of inflation. So we're looking at also high rentage, and the reason we're having high rentage is because of 2 things. Work from home has contributed to it, and obviously the low interest rates we've had has made everyone apply for a mortgage, and obviously the demand for houses are high, and it has created some sort of gap where there are not enough houses, but there are too many people requesting and asking for houses because there's too much money in people's hands. So the last but not the least is obviously the cost of normal furniture items that are coming from China. Has gone up just because of the supply issue, the logistics issue, and obviously the COVID created by the COVID pandemic. So when you analyze and put all these issues together, you understand why prices of why inflation is at that price in the United States.
All right. Now, okay, let's talk about the wages. Aside the government workers, the employees' wages has jumped to 1.6% in April-June quarter in the United States, which matched a record high that reached last fall. Now, workers of American firms who are paid in dollars but are working in Africa would benefit from this. But is this sustainable, and what results could this lead to?
Well, that's a fantastic question. So is this sustainable? No, it's not, because the truth is we're trying to avoid inflation being entrenched into the society. That's the most important thing. So they're trying to, if you're asking for pay rises while inflation is rising, they're basically trying to accept that this is the cost of life, this is cost of living, which is against the prerogative of what the central bank is trying to do. So if you have inflation at 9.1% today, and you're asking for a pay rise and you've gotten a pay rise, if inflation comes down to 3% or 5%, as people have projected, if the government actually does the right thing, then what happens? You don't get the motion. That means you now obviously have a high price, and then obviously lower, and that will increase the cost of companies. And obviously you've now entrenched this sort of high standardness in the economy. So
right.
We have to look at it that way. But employees are also looking out for their benefits. Human beings are economic beings. It's important for them.
All right. Thank you so much, Opeoluwa Dapo-Thomas from UK, London. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.